welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe from the studios of our flagship station, Civic Center TV, and 89.3 Lakes FM. We're also joined on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99 as well by City Cable 15 of Southfield and the Birmingham area municipal access in the Birmingham Bloomfield area. You can also watch us live and live to tape on Comcast Channel 10 and AT&T Channel 99 on the media network of Waterford and on Orion Neighborhood Television. Join us on the radio, of course, our flagship station 89.3 Lakes FM, as well as 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District, serving Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy and those local areas. Join us online on our Facebook pages, Civic Center TV 15 and Lakes FM. There you'll also be able to see a number of our other productions throughout the weeks and throughout the months that we do outside of the Megacast, including special programming such as West Bloomfield Laker football, where you can hear the simulcasts of our radio broadcast on Friday nights, including this Friday, as the Lakers take on the Rochester Adams Highlanders once again, this time in the playoffs. And I'll speak with Mick McCabe from the Detroit Free Press in just a little bit about that and more. And then also you can join us on our Lakes FM Facebook page as well. Same details, all that stuff. You'll find the splash, you'll find some municipal meetings, and learn more and keep updated on what's going on in Greater West Bloomfield. You can also do that on our website, civiccentertv.com, and watch us live there on our Watch Live page. If you're on our homepage on civiccentertv.com, there's that button at the top of the page on your computer web browser that says Watch Live. It's the same button that's in the left margin of the screen on your mobile phone. You click that, surprise, surprise, you'll be watching us, and guess what? It's live. That's why we say watch live on it. So that's another way to watch us on the internet. And then the last way, the most mysterious of ways, but getting less and less mysterious as time goes on My Michigan TV or My. Join us on mymytv.com. That is MYMITV.com, where we are live on My today once again. As I mute my laptop over here that has the live feed of it, that's playing my voice right back. No one wants to hear that, except you. Thanks. Again, My Michigan TV or My, another place you can watch and listen to our live broadcasts of the Megacast Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. Then, also on our website on our coronavirus page, there you'll find a lot of helpful information as we continue through the COVID-19 pandemic. There's new information over time that comes in. Heck, yesterday I was overhearing someone's conversation about how 70% of the population being vaccinated was that benchmark for herd immunity or ending the pandemic. Well, that's in fact not correct if you're staying updated with information, because the variants of COVID-19 are able to overpower in some ways the vaccines in ways that the original novel coronavirus that all of this was based on was not able to do so. And you'd also be able to learn from a lot of these links that in cases like that, as this novel coronavirus continues to variate, it becomes more and more powerful in some cases, or more and more contagious. And so we have to modify that benchmark and move it forward. We've had those conversations before with people like Dr. Russell Faust from the Oakland County Health Division. And those aren't secrets you got to talk to a health expert about in an interview on a TV show in order to learn. You can learn those from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division by going to our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we also scour many of our local newspapers from across the state of Michigan in major hubs such as Detroit, Grand Rapids, Lansing, Traverse City, and more in order to find the top stories affecting the state of Michigan on the coronavirus front and more. And making our top stories today, once again, yesterday was Wednesday, and that is one of the 3 days a week that the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services updates its COVID-19 case information. And yesterday, this is from the Detroit Free Press, the health department reported 6,283 new cases of COVID-19 between Tuesday and Wednesday, averaging 3,142 cases per day. The state reported 163 additional deaths, 88 of which were identified during a vital records review conducted 3 times per week. Michigan now has a total of 1,172,800 confirmed cases and 22,684 confirmed deaths since the beginning of the pandemic. The 2-day average underestimates the number of new referrals since the state's last update on Monday because of a process delay for lab results, according to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The cause of the issue is currently under investigation. Michigan had a positivity rate of 16.93% on Tuesday, reporting that 7,699 of the 45,464 diagnostic test results returned were positive. On Wednesday, the fatality rate among known cases was reported at 1.9%. The state also reported 156,289 probable cases and 1,533 probable COVID-related deaths, making up a cumulative total of 1,329,089 cases and 24,217 deaths. You can read that full article from the Detroit Free Press at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Also making news today from Bridge, Michigan, a judge has approved a settlement in the Flint water crisis. A judge approved a $626.25 million settlement in the Flint water crisis, but has not decided how much money goes to residents and how much lawyers will keep. In a Wednesday opinion, U.S. District Court Judge Judith Levy rejected all objections to the settlement of claims against the state and other parties sued by Flint residents for their role in the city's lead-tainted water crisis. Calling the settlement, quote-unquote, a remarkable achievement, Levy declined to immediately decide how much money attorneys should get for their work in the case. After attorney fees are discounted, children are set to receive nearly 80% of the settlement, while 18% goes to adults who can prove health impacts or property damages. Smaller amounts will go to special education programs and businesses. More than 50,000 people have signed up to participate in the settlement, but it's not clear whether all have valid claims. The city's population was about 100,000 at the time of the crisis, but has since decreased to 81,000 residents. Payments aren't likely until next year at the very earliest. Michigan state government is the biggest contributor to the agreement, which would resolve only some civil suits tied to the crisis. The state is paying $600 million, while $20 million is coming from the city of Flint, $5 million from the McLaren Regional Medical Center, and $1.25 million from the Flint-based engineering firm Rowe Professional Services Company. The lower than original proposed amount after Levy last month granted McLaren permission to lower its contribution to $15 million to keep the hospital system from walking away from the agreement. Claire McClinton, a 72-year-old Flint resident who voiced her concerns in front of Levy earlier this year, said the settlement is too small. Among other concerns, McClinton also objected to the way funds are distributed, with less money available for adults and almost no money available to adults who cannot prove that they suffered physical harm. And she's frustrated that Levy allowed McLaren to shrink its contribution to a quarter of its former size. McClinton said, quote, "I'm just very, very disappointed." She intends to hire a lawyer to pursue her own lawsuit against the state, McClinton said. Flint's water crisis began, of course, in 2014 when a state-appointed emergency manager approved the city switch from Detroit's water supply to the Flint River without requiring anti-corrosion chemicals to prevent lead from leaching out of pipes. The water crisis prompted congressional hearings, criminal charges against many, including Michigan's former governor Rick Snyder and other top officials, and a bevy of lawsuits. Levy acknowledged during the hearings that this year that she had a quote-unquote difficult decision, especially about fees for lawyers who sought 30% of the overall settlement. She noted on Thursday's order that she'll address that question in a separate opinion. Lawyers contended that they deserve that much because they have logged 182,000 hours of work. That's equivalent to more than 20 years of labor on behalf of Flint residents. In an interview with Bridge, Michigan on Wednesday, co-lead counsel Ted Leopold noted that lawyers took an enormous gamble by working on contingency, meaning that if they had lost, Leopold said, they have received virtually no payment. Quote, "That's the nature of litigation, and that's the risk we took," end closed quote. Objectors to the proposed settlement fee argue it's far too much. Frank Bednarz, an attorney for the Washington, D.C.-based Center for Class Action Fairness at the Hamilton Lincoln Law Institute, said he hopes Levy will approve about half of what the lawyers seek. Bednarz questioned about questioned how much of the lawyer's time was spent serving clients' interest versus competing with one another for business. Quote, "It's too much," he said. "It does not make sense that they deserve to be paid for It does make sense that they deserve to be paid for their work, but not at this amount," and closed quote. Our Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Attorney General Dana Nessel lauded the settlement's approval, though both acknowledged the lingering harm to Flint residents. Quote, "We hope the settlement helps the healing continue as we keep working to make sure that people have access to clean water in Flint and communities all across Michigan," said Governor Whitmer. A settlement is a major milestone, but far from the end of the legal wrangling. Lawyers continue to pursue lawsuits against 4 other parties, including the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA. And that full article on our website from Bridge, Michigan Magazine, you can find civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Lastly, making headlines, we had to cut this one for time yesterday, but still timely information and interesting also from Bridge, Michigan Magazine for those those who have interest in wildlife or are hunting enthusiasts. A deer expert says to expect fewer hunters in the Michigan woods this year. It seemed like a sign of hope against an overall otherwise bleak outlook for the future of deer hunting in Michigan. Last year, the COVID-19 pandemic pushed people out of offices, movie theaters, restaurants, and more, and into the outdoors. Hunting participation increased in the first time in many years. Nearly 675,000 people took to their deer blinds in Michigan, an increase of over 5% for the pastime that has endured a quarter century of declining participation. Dustin Eisenhoff, a Michigan Department of Natural Resources research specialist who tracks hunting participation, helped Bridge explain what the numbers mean, and highlights from the conversation follow in that article, including that Michigan lost 270,000 hunters since the mid-90s. He said that it can be attributed to, quote, "a culture shift and the sheer abundance of other options that weren't available in decades past. That has, as Eisenhoff said, quote unquote, chipped away at the sport's popularity, particularly among younger generations who are instead picking up activities like mountain biking, snowmobiling, and kayaking." Eisenhoff said, quote, "Every year there's some more competition for your time. What about last year's COVID outdoor bump? Why hasn't that continued for hunting like it did for other forms of outdoor recreation? The dynamics are different. Camping, hiking, and mountain biking were already on the upswing, and the pandemic simply sped up the process. Hunting, on the other hand, has been waning for decades. Last year's gains, driven largely by women and younger hunters, represented a shift for a sport that has become increasingly reliant on aging, mostly male hunter populations. But this year, Eisenhoff said, we're seeing that the most erosion in those age groups that saw the biggest upticks last year. And you can thank the end of COVID office closures and social distancing and other measures for that. Many of last year's new hunters, Eisenhoff said, were taking advantage of a sudden abundance of free time. Now they're back spending their days commuting to work and their weekends participating in other pastimes and other activities. What does this mean for DNR revenue? Bad news for the DNR. The agency gets about 20% of its funding from hunters and fishing licenses, using it to pay for conservation officers, habitat protection, and fish and game management. Another 19% from federal excise taxes on guns and ammo also go to the DNR. Quote, "It's a big deal," said Eisenhoff, continuing, "every less license sale is potentially less funding," and closed quote. And so where will the DNR get that money instead? It's a big question, said Eisenhoff, and there's really no great silver bullet answer, and closed quote. U.S. Representative Debbie Dingell, a Dearborn Democrat, is a lead sponsor of the Recovering America's Wildlife Act, which would create a new influx of $1.4 billion annually toward species recovery, helping to offset the decline in hunting and fishing license revenue. Previous versions of the bill have died in each of the past 2 congressional sessions, leaving doubt about its hope of passage this time. So what does that mean for the rest of us? More deer getting caught in your car's headlights, or caught munching on your flowers or vegetable patches. As Bridge also reported, deer are posing problems for Lower Peninsula residents as hunting combines with other human influences like predator suppression and habitat encroachment to allow unchecked population growth. Hoofed herbivores are one of the winners of human disturbance, said Eisenhoff, and they thrive in cornfields and backyard flower gardens. Their growth in parts of Michigan is forcing new coping strategies, from government-sanctioned culls to sterilization and walls around Leelanau County's cherry orchards. But for now, Michigan's disappearing hunters still represent the primary means of population control for the deer. Quote, everything else is either incredibly expensive or just not practical, said Eisenhoff. That extensive article, and I skipped a lot of that in this review today, from Bridge, Michigan, is on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. We have a great show ahead of you today. Tomorrow we continue the MHSAA Division I playoffs, and that includes our West Bloomfield Lakers here in the local area of our flagship stations, Civic Center TV and Lakes FM. Coming up next, I'll talk about the Lakers and their matchup against the Rochester Adams Highlanders in Rochester tomorrow, as well as the rest of the MHSAA Division I football playoffs outlook with high school sports writer and contributor for the Detroit Free Press, Mick McCabe. He'll be coming up next at 10:20. At 10:40, Jeanette Phillips from Shared Detroit will join us to talk about their efforts to support a number, over 200 local charities and nonprofits as we head toward Giving Tuesday. And then going into the 11 o'clock hour, we'll talk movies with Nate Adams from theonlycritic.com. He's also a Rotten Tomatoes movie reviewer as well. At 11:20, Eric Goldstein, the director of Making God Laugh from the Rosedale Community Players in Southfield, will join us to talk about that upcoming production. And then we'll cap off the show at 11:40 with Dr. Christian Greer, the president and CEO of the Michigan Science Center. That's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe, alongside our studio producer and board operator Calvin Brown in our studios in West Bloomfield Township on Walnut Lake Road, where we broadcast live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon every day. But we're not just in West Bloomfield, not just in Oakland County. We're broadcasting all throughout the state on our website at civiccentertv.com, as well as on My Michigan TV or My. Go to mymytv.com to learn all the places you can view My Michigan TV, including on your smartphone and your smart TV on their free My Michigan TV app. Joining us now is Mick McCabe. He's a high school sports writer and contributor with the Detroit Free Press and has not only been following MHSAA football throughout the entire season, including these playoffs, he has predicted every single playoff game for this Friday and Saturday as we head into the regional finals of the MHSAA playoffs across all divisions in football. And he's joining us now on the Megacast. Mick, thanks for being back with us.
Right, it's great to be back.
Yeah, got a really exciting football season we've had here. A lot of great football being played, much like in other leagues professionally and in the college ranks. A lot of parity this year in divisions. A lot of teams that have been pleasant surprises and have sustained that throughout the season and really proved that in the playoffs. Most notably, I would say that would be Rochester Adams, a team that last year really struggled. They made the playoffs under those special circumstances and unfortunately had their season cut short due to COVID-19 protocols. This year, they come back. They moved down a division in the OAA out of the red and are absolutely dominant during the regular season, including from the onset in their Week 1 win, kind of a surprise win for some, at West Bloomfield against the Lakers. Now, this weekend in the regional final in Division 1, they will be taking on the Lakers once again, this time on their turf over at Rochester Adams High School. Let's begin by talking about the West Bloomfield Lakers, because that Week 1 loss, very surprising for some that they lost that game to Rochester Adams, a team that wasn't expected to be as excellent as they have been this season. But this West Bloomfield team has significantly improved since that Week 1. From your conversations with West Bloomfield staff and with their players, and from just what you've seen from this team, where has that clicked for them, where they went from very sloppy and seemed to be not having an entire element of chemistry with their team coming back defending their championship in Week 1 to now seemingly firing on every cylinder and playing great football?
Well, I think defensively they've stepped it up, and we're going to find out exactly how much they've improved tomorrow, because it's great. It's back to Week 1 with these guys, and they couldn't stop. They just could not stop Adams' running attack. They run this midline veer that you don't see a lot, so that makes it even harder to prepare for. And then Parker Peacock, the quarterback from Adams, is one of the best athletes in the state. He's a junior, and he's committed to Alabama, but for baseball. And he's really a terrific athlete. And then they've improved with their quarterback situation has gotten so much better as he's been able to kind of grow, except he's not growing. He's really, wow, is he small, but he's a really good player. He's more matured as a quarterback. And Dylan Tatum is just a tremendous running back and defensive back. And it's taken a little while to get used to all the new players, because West Bloomfield is basically a young team, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. And they're going to be good for years to come. And the quarterback Rick Nance, they're throwing around Kyler Murray comparisons, which is tremendously unfair to him, but they do play the same style, and they listen like a 5'10", and if he's 5'8", I'd be stunned. But he's really good, and he's figured out when to keep it, when to run. So they're going to be very dangerous, and they have been so far.
Yeah, it's been a much more dynamic team offensively, and in terms of Rochester Adams' strengths and what was West Bloomfield's weakness in Week 1, that defense certainly just couldn't keep up with Rochester Adams' ground and pound style offense. But now we're seeing, especially on the defensive line, those 3 edge rushers for the West Bloomfield Lakers are just absolutely lethal. You've got Mike Williams, who's having a record season for the West Bloomfield Lakers, has set the school record for sacks and is approaching the state record. You have Brandon Davis Swain, also been dominant, and then Joe Clark has been solid as well throughout the season. He's had a period of weeks where he has been absolutely dominant, and others where he has been taking care of business and really hasn't struggled. So that at least those edge rushers really putting a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, but then you got the linebacker core that's picked it up as well. And they're putting a lot of pressure on the running game for these teams and forcing them into the air. That being said, this Rochester Adams team is versatile. They're poised. They got a great quarterback, and they are very likely to be able to answer that against the West Bloomfield Lakers. You actually have predicted in your predictions that it's going to be a close game, but you have the edge going to Rochester Adams. Why is that on Friday night?
Well, maybe it's just a feeling. I saw the first game, and so I just can't get that out of my head. And I know teams improve a lot, and maybe the second time around, the team that lost the first game has an edge in the second. But that midline veer is so difficult to prepare for it. But they've had a long time to prepare for it now, and it's just a gut feeling. And I don't want every favorite to be picked here. I do look for some upsets here and there, and this technically could be one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting game. We got a team in West Bloomfield that could easily be in the reversed role here and be 11-0, and a Rochester Adams team that could easily be 10-1. It's tough to beat a team twice, especially with the team when you beat a team that came in with 3 returning starters defensively and is now really playing again, starting to play some very dominant defense. But then again, on West Bloomfield's side, Rochester Adams has taken care of business in every single one of their games. They've played a tough schedule. That's why they are in the place that they're in. They got a really talented roster here. And then even beyond this game, you're looking at Region 2 as being an interesting game on Friday. On Saturday, that game, you're going again, you have 2 of the top teams in the entire division going up against each other. These are 2 powerhouses in Grand Blanc and in Rockford that will be battling on Saturday. Give us a little preview of that game, and for those that maybe aren't familiar with these 2 teams, what makes them so dominant and has had them have such a prolific season, both 11-0 heading into Saturday's game?
Yeah, we've got Rockford number 1. We've had them number 1 for some time, and they're very, very talented. Their quarterback is really good. The quarterback's grandfather is Jerry Ahern, who won a state championship a couple of years ago at Lansing Catholic, and now he retired to go up and watch his grandson play. And you remember Cooper Rush with the Cowboys a couple of weeks ago, right? Well, he played at Lansing Catholic, and Coach Ahern is kind of like a quarterback whisperer. And they're very, very talented. And they have a really good quarterback at Grand Blanc, too. They might be a more complete team. Like I said, we've had Rockford ranked number 1 for so long. And, as long as they win, they stay there. But Grand Blanc has a really, really good team. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if they won this game and won the entire state championship.
Yeah, it's a really big fight to the finish in Division 1. The 8 teams remaining are exceptionally talented. Many of these teams have been contenders for a number of years. Dearborn Fordson, Macomb Dakota, West Bloomfield, Rockford, Alder Belleville, even especially, who's also going to be playing on Saturday. All teams that have consistently been contending for state championships have made deep playoff runs recently. Going down in Region 3 and Region 4, of those 4 remaining teams, who do you see as the biggest threat to come out of those 2 regions, out of that semifinal bracket into Ford Field, and be able to compete against a Region 1 or Region 2 team, whoever should come out of those final 4 there? Well,
the most talented team is Belleville. But they were the most talented team last year too, and they couldn't get past West Bloomfield in the semifinals. So, but I expect Belleville to be there. But Sterling Heights Stevenson is really good, and Fordson is one of their rivals. In fact, Fordson had West Bloomfield beaten earlier this season until they got a stupid personal foul, and it cost them 15 yards and ended their potential game-winning series. So, I wouldn't be shocked that Fordson beat them, but I would definitely be surprised.
We're joined by Mick McCabe. He is a high school sports writer and contributor with the Detroit Free Press, joining us on the Megacast as we're talking about high school football. We'll have a high school football playoff game coming up tomorrow night, 7:09 kickoff, a little bit later because it is also the Valley Sports Game of the Week, West Bloomfield and Rochester Adams. We will have the radio broadcast as well, 7:09 p.m. on Lakes FM, 89.3 FM in the greater West Bloomfield area, and also will be simulcast, the audio at least, will be simulcast on our website on civiccentertv.com, as well as on the Facebook page of the West Bloomfield School District. And so just circling back to these Oakland County teams. We're looking at West Bloomfield, we're looking at Rochester Adams, and then the 6 remaining teams beyond them. Of those 6 remaining teams, and thinking forward to the semifinal, that Rockford and that Grand Blanc game, and then looking down at the bottom of that bracket as well at teams like Belleville and teams like Dearborn Fordson, Sterling Heights Stevenson, Macomb Dakota. Either one of these teams, Adams or West Bloomfield, going to have a very tough road the rest of the way, whomever gets through Friday night's game. Where do you see their biggest challenge between then and the state finals for them to be able that biggest hump for them to get over to really be able to have a shot at that title at Ford Field?
Well, like I said, Rockford's number 1. Grand Blanc has been unbeaten too. So whoever wins that game they're going to be a formidable opponent in the semifinals. Maybe I'm a little more familiar with Grand Blanc, so that's going to be a tough game. It's going to be like Davidson coming out the previous couple of years and kind of catching teams by surprise. Because they were in the same league as Davidson was. So maybe Grand Blanc would be a real difficult team to beat just to get to the state championship game.
We're joined by Mick McCabe, a high school sports writer and contributor with the Detroit Free Press, joining us on the Megacast. You can save $10 on his new book, Mick McCabe's Golden Yearbook, 50 Great Years of Michigan's Best High School Players, Teams, and Memories, by ordering them now at mccabe.pictorialbook.com. That is mccabe.pictorialbook.com, as he is holding that up on the screen there.
Hold it up the right way.
It's fine. We just cut to you there, so we got that on the screen there. It is his Golden Yearbook, an excellent look back at 50 years of high school sports here in the state of Michigan. So we got a few more minutes with you, Mick, before we'll say goodbye today. As we're heading into this weekend, the regional final, still got another 2 weeks remaining in the playoff season with the semifinals next week, and then the finals at Ford Field after that. Let's begin with Division One with these final 8 teams. Of these final 8 teams, who do you believe is coming away with the state championship in 2021?
Grand Blanc.
Yeah. Grand Blanc, an 11-0 team, the number 2 ranked playoff points team in Division One. That's going to be a tough team to beat for Rockford. It's going to be a tough team to get over for whoever remains below them in the bracket in Region 2, Region 3, and Region 4 in Division One. Across the rest of the state, Mick, what are some of the big games that you're looking at and some of the teams that you're looking at potentially having a really solid run from here on out and winning state championships?
Well, I think Warren De La Salle is almost a lock. They are a lock, in my mind, to get back to the state championship game. And it's interesting, if Traverse City Central can beat Caledonia this weekend, then I think Traverse City Central will get to the state championship game. And I think De La Salle will beat them. But this Josh Burnham, the quarterback and middle linebacker for Traverse City Central, he's committed to Notre Dame. He's a really good player. So it would be a great thing to be able to see him in the state finals. In Division 3, Detroit King is really good. Dante Moore, who was offered a scholarship by Jim Harbaugh before his 8th grade year, is a talented quarterback. But don't forget about DeWitt. They won it last year, and they are terrific. You got a great Tyler Holtz and Tommy McIntosh. That's a great passing combination. So I think Division 3 would be a tremendous championship game. I think Country Day, which won the title last year in D4, their thing is going to end this week. when they play at Chelsea. I think we've got Chelsea ranked number 1, and I think they will win it. Division 5 is like the biggest lock in the history of locks. Grand Rapids Catholic Central. They've won the last couple state championships. They won in 4, then they moved down last year to Division 5. Even without their quarterback, who was Joey Silveri, tremendous. They had another kid step up who was a receiver and just had a fabulous year. And so I can see them winning Division 5, kind of easily. In Division 6, the Lansing Catholic Central team they've lost once to Portland, they lost once to Portland. They beat Paloma, Westphalia. So I think Lansing Catholic Central with the Ahern kid at quarterback, they're a really good team. Division 7 is probably the most balanced division in the state, with Muskegon Catholic Central, Jackson Lumen Christi, and Traverse City St. Francis and Paloma, Australia. They should all win this week. And Paloma, Westphalia and Lumen Christi are really, really good. And I could see them playing again for the state championship like they did a couple of years ago. And I think Paloma, Westphalia is the team to beat there. And then in Division 8, with Beale City and Ubley, got their finals last year, and they're talented. But Hudson High, they had the 72-game winning streak stopped in 1975 in the state championship game by Ishpeming, which was the first year of the state playoffs. And that 72-game winning streak is still the longest in state history. And they're back. They're really, really good this year. So I think Hudson is a team to beat in Division 8.
I'm joined by Mick McCabe. He is the high school sports writer and contributor with the Detroit Free Press. Mick, just another minute with you before we'll say goodbye. Anything else for us today before we let you go?
I just hope we have good weather for the next 2 weeks. I mean, that first week, all that rain, it took me 3 days to dry out. So we're hoping for great weather. And then we go inside and it doesn't matter as long as it's not a big snowstorm. It stops everybody from getting to Ford Field. I think it's going to be really cool to have everybody back in Ford Field. Like, last year only so many we could let in, but it's going to be really cool. I hope we have great crowds again.
Yeah, I'm sure we will have excellent crowds at Ford Field. And I agree with you on the weather. That game a few weeks back at West Bloomfield High School against the Novi Wildcats, that was a tough game to call in the booth there with all that rain. So hopefully for the players and for the broadcasters and for the writers, good weather the rest of the way as we head toward Ford Field. Mick, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, it's always a pleasure.
Appreciate it. You can read his articles on high school sports at the Detroit Free Press and on their website at freep.com. And then you can also get his book, $10 off on his new book right now, Mick McCabe's Golden Yearbook, 50 Great Years of Michigan's Best High School Players, Teams, and Memories, by ordering that book now at mccabe.pictorialbook.com. Again, mccabe.pictorialbook.com. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll transition from sports to nonprofits and speak with Jeanette Phillips, the executive director of Share Detroit, about their support of a number of different nonprofits and charities in the Detroit area as we're heading toward Giving Tuesday. That is coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Joining us now today on this first edition of that special partnership over the next few weeks is Jeanette Phillips. She is the executive director of Share Detroit, joining us once again on the Megacast. Jeanette, thanks for being with us.
Hi, Tyler. Thank you for having me again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to have you back. For those that didn't see the last time you were on the show and are just now hearing about Share Detroit for the first time, tell us a little bit about your organization and reintroduce it to those that may be tuning in again, but don't remember way back to the last time we had you.
Sure, thank you. So Share Detroit is a nonprofit that our mission is to bring hundreds of nonprofits from Southeast Michigan together on one platform so that the community, the public, can go there to do research and find a nonprofit that speaks to them so that they can maybe donate during this holiday season, volunteer, attend an event, or shop on Amazon wish lists. And our website is very simple, sharedetroit.org, O-R-G. And so I encourage everyone listening and throughout November and December, visit sharedetroit.org and find a nonprofit or two that, really means a lot to you.
We're joined by Jeanette Phillips. She is the executive director of Share Detroit, joining us on the Megacast. And what are some of the ways that your organization assists these nonprofits? You have them, of course, listed on your website, but you provide other help as well to get the word out there and to help them organizationally as well. Is that correct?
Yes. And so what, kind of the key ingredient to what we're doing by bringing, right now we have 232 nonprofits in one place, is we're enabling the nonprofits to be somewhere where, again, the community can find them. So if a community member really cares about animals, the Humane Society of Macomb County is on our platform. Michigan Humane is on our platform, but there are many smaller animal shelters that do really important work that are less visible because they're just not as big or as, haven't been around maybe as long as Michigan Humane. So it allows us to help the nonprofits be seen, be more visible to the world, to the community especially, and also, by having volunteer opportunities on our website, again, the community can just sort of Google inside of our platform to find hundreds of volunteer opportunities to support. Those can be remote, skills-based, or remote type work. Some are face-to-face now. Things are kind of opening up a little better thanks to the vaccine and and the COVID kind of calming down a bit for all of us, but hundreds of opportunities to volunteer, whether that's at a soup kitchen, taking care of animals in an animal shelter, helping someone redesign their website or their social media campaigns. You name it, there are opportunities on the website for people to help and get involved.
We're joined by Jeanette Phillips, Executive Director of Share Detroit. You can learn more information about her nonprofit at sharedetroit.org. That is sharedetroit.org. And so 231 nonprofits currently listed on that website, and they're all local nonprofits too, all with support for Detroit or support for Michigan, for many local areas in the surrounding vicinity of Detroit as well. Why is it important then to not only have this collective of these organizations in one place, but especially local organizations in one place, as people are getting into that time of the year where if they haven't been giving already, they're looking to as they approach the end of the year for whether just be out the goodness of their heart or to get into the spirit of the holiday season or for tax purposes, whatever the case may be. Why is it important to then have all of those organizations listed in one place for locals?
Yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. No matter what the reason, we want you to give during the holiday season. Traditionally kicking off on Giving Tuesday, which this year is November 30th. It's always the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. But again, it's easy. It's easy to use Share Detroit, and you will stumble on nonprofits that are doing great work, great mission work that you maybe have never heard of. And an example of a literacy nonprofit in Northwest Detroit is called Sienna Literacy Center. And so they help a lot of immigrants coming in from Africa are settling in Northwest Detroit, along with, traditional residents of Detroit. So they're helping with ESL and foundational English, reading, writing, literacy type things so that people can find jobs. So Sienna is very quiet, very small. It was founded by the Adrian Dominican sisters, but is not a religious organization. Their mission is to help teach adults. So that's the key is, again, if someone has $25 or $50 or $100 to give, or $1,000 to give during the holiday season, use Share Detroit as a tool to do your research, investigate some of the missions that are there, find a nonprofit that speaks to you. All of the nonprofits are tied to the donation side through PayPal, so it makes it very easy for a person to donate. And Tyler, if it's okay, I just want to make sure I say out loud that Share Detroit, as the conduit and kind of the center of a spoke of all kinds of nonprofits and then the community around them, we don't take any funding. So when someone donates $25 to Sienna Literacy Center or Friends of Animals of Metro Detroit, that $25 goes to them. PayPal will take their kick like they always do, but we do not. We are funded separately. We're not taking any money from the nonprofits when they join us or from the community as they give. So I think that's a real important note. We have kind of an altruistic mission of just bringing the nonprofits together, and now with your help, Tyler, and everybody on this Megacast listening in, bringing the community to Share Detroit to do good to the over 200 nonprofits.
And what's great about this too, Jeanette, is that Share Detroit and their web, especially your website, sharedetroit.org, it's not just opportunities to find these organizations and donate your money. You can also donate your time as well, and you get an in-depth look at each of these 231 currently nonprofits supporting Detroit listed on your website, and you can not only find them, not only shop in the way that supports them and donate, of course, but you can also find opportunities to give back through action as well.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times, people, maybe they'll donate $25, okay, but by volunteering, you really get to know the nonprofit. You get to know their leadership. You get to know the clients they serve. So volunteering is a really beautiful way to support everyone.
We're joined by Jeanette Phillips. She is the Executive Director of Share Detroit. Learn more information on sharedetroit.org. And so we're in this partnership with you over the next few weeks leading up to Giving Tuesday on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday until November 30th. We will be having a Share Detroit nonprofit joining us at 10:20 in the morning on each one of those shows. And it's all leading up to Giving Tuesday. Tell us a little bit, for those that are unfamiliar, about what Giving Tuesday is, what the purpose of that campaign is, and how Share Detroit's really leaning into that campaign for this year in particular.
Thanks. Sure. So Giving Tuesday, I didn't know this until this year, but Giving Tuesday was begun by a woman in Houston, Texas, about 7 or 8 years ago. She just had this idea, and it's become this national and worldwide event for, again, the community to give back to nonprofits. And I think I know they raise millions of dollars. I don't know if it's $1 billion worldwide, but they raise a lot of money. And so Giving Tuesday, the hashtag Giving Tuesday that everybody sees everywhere, is truly also a different nonprofit designed to help nonprofits like me and all nonprofits do the right work to get the community to be aware. So it's always the Tuesday after Thanksgiving in the United States. And it's just a chance to reflect and give back before the hustle and bustle of the holiday seasons begin. Just think about how I can help. And so my message to your viewers is to use sharedetroit.org through November, when they have 10 minutes a few times to go in and do their research, look around, see what speaks to them, and kind of get organized for Giving Tuesday. Of course, they can give at any time. It's always ready for them, but Giving Tuesday is a big kind of splash moment right after Cyber Monday. So after they've purchased all their holiday gifts, they can come to sharedetroit.org and do some good for our local community. So
we're joined by Jeanette Phillips. She's the Executive Director of Share Detroit. Learn more information on sharedetroit.org. And especially in this year, Jeanette, with the difficulties that our nonprofits, much like our independent businesses, had during the pandemic. Why is it more important now more than ever that if people can donate, whether it's their time, whether it's money, whether it's just shopping through your Amazon wish lists for these organizations for materials that they need, why now more than ever is it important for us to support our local nonprofits?
Yeah, so now more than ever, we're coming out from underneath the difficulty of COVID. And so there are more needs for more nonprofits now by the community, a la the literacy groups, organizations that help people with disabilities. We're getting out more, so there's more demand coming through. And also there's still demand for people with food insecurity or pets, people who either have to surrender their pets because they just can't maintain that. Sometimes people die, right? And we hope they don't die of COVID, but elderly people die and their pets need to be adopted. So there's a lot of reasons why the nonprofits really need support, and they ran deficits. The other piece of the puzzle is probably 80%, maybe more, of the nonprofits in our area ran deficits. So they can't, they'll go out of business just like anybody else goes out of business when their revenue does not match their expenses. So if the community can help any amount, small or large, it's a critical time for a lot of nonprofits to make sure that they can come out of kind of the last 2 years, maybe not stronger, but just at a break even. It's just, we need to help them. They do so much work, important work for the area.
You can learn more information about all of the 231 current nonprofits that are promoted by Share Detroit by going to their website at sharedetroit.org. Jeanette, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much, Tyler.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Megacast on your home for the Megacast on the radio, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. We're also on a number of different community television and radio stations all throughout the state of Michigan, as well as online. Find out all the places that we broadcast live and live to tape, as well as find on-demand versions of our full episodes and each individual interview by going to our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link. Joining us now is Nate Adams, a film critic at theonlycritic.com, as well as Rotten Tomatoes, to talk about the latest with movies, TV, and streaming. Nate, thanks for being with us today.
Tyler, thanks for having me.
Good to have you back, Nate. So right now in the theaters, what are some of the movies that are out right now or that are coming out soon that you suggest people should either be going to see or be ready to go see when they hit theaters?
Well, the good news is for moviegoers is that moviegoing and movies that are coming out, like big blockbusters, holiday season specials, all that is back on the table now. It feels like, October was a record month, which usually doesn't happen like ever. Like before, I think you have to go back to like 1988 to find when October was the busiest month of the year. It's usually like July, the peak of summer. But upcoming, so the awards movies are coming out because the Oscars and the Critics' Choice Awards, all that stuff's on the horizon. So there's a lot of good stuff coming out. This weekend you got Kenneth Branagh's Belfast, which is right now the best picture frontrunner. It's kind of a semi-autobiographical take from the filmmaker who kind of goes back to his roots and explores his childhood. It's a great cast: Jamie Dornan, Syrian Hans, like all that's really, really good. Next week you have King Richard, which is starring Will Smith, who is the best actor frontrunner, and he gives the performance of a career playing Serena and Venus Williams' father. Little unorthodox. 10 minutes into it, you don't even feel like you're watching Will Smith at all. He completely disappears into the role. Same for Spencer, which is starring Kristen Stewart as Princess Diana, also getting a ton of awards buzz, Best Actress frontrunner, and she's also terrific. So really, really good content coming out in the next few weeks. Stuff that'll be in theaters, stuff that will be at home. Obviously, the new Marvel movie Eternals is out. You got Spider-Man No Way Home coming out in December. You got The Matrix, West Side Story, There's a Home Alone remake coming on Disney Plus this weekend, which I highly recommend everybody stay away from. So yeah, there's a lot of options for families too. Clifford the Big Red Dog just debuted this week, which is actually, I'm in the minority. I actually didn't end up hating it, but if you go online, there might be some people that say otherwise.
We're joined by Nate Adams, film critic at theonlycritic.com, joining us today on the Megacast. So the holiday season, as you said, movies, the holiday movie season boom, expected to be back. It's already kind of starting after a big month of October for our theaters. The first of these big holidays coming up that usually have mass release of movies is going to be Thanksgiving. A number of different films coming out on Thanksgiving. Huge films. That's going to be a big weekend. What are some of those biggest films that are going to be released that weekend that we'll probably be seeing a lot of families going to theaters to go watch?
Well, Disney has their Lin-Manuel Miranda animated film Encanto, which is, I haven't had the chance to see it yet, but I know that, Lin-Manuel Miranda is obviously riding a huge popularity wave. He's got Tick, Tick, Boom coming out this week, which is Andrew Garfield's getting a ton of award buzz. It's his directorial debut. And of course, Hamilton. He did Vivo over the summer with Netflix. So the Lin-Manuel Miranda train hype is going pretty good. And that comes out over Thanksgiving. And then another buzzy film that people will probably want to keep an eye on is called House of Gucci, which is obviously about the assassination of the famous fashion designer, and it stars Lady Gaga, Adam Driver, Jeremy Irons, Jared Leto, Al Pacino, and it's directed by Ridley Scott. So that's got a ton of buzz. That will also be opening in the Thanksgiving corridor. But then families are also going to have some good options at home. Disney has obviously got the Hawkeye series coming out for Disney Plus, and then there's a 3-part Beatles documentary, behind the scenes footage of one of the makings of the Beatles albums that Peter Jackson directed. That's a 3-part series that's going to debut on Thanksgiving. So in theaters and at home, there's going to be plenty for audiences, families, adults to indulge in.
We're joined by Nate Adams from theonlycritic.com, joining us on the Megacast on the TV side of things. A lot of new shows have been released, particularly on streaming platforms of late that have gotten a lot of buzz. What are some of those top shows still that have been recent releases and others that are highly anticipated going forward?
So Apple TV Plus has a show coming out tomorrow starring Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd, which Paul Rudd was just named Sexiest Man Alive by People. So buzz for that. And then he's also in Ghostbusters Afterlife, which comes out next week. That's also very highly anticipated. You can't buy that kind of publicity. I'm sure it was just kind of like a coincidence. But The Shrink Next Door, which is based on the popular podcast, it stars Paul Rudd and Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell plays a patient to Paul Rudd's therapist, who he ends up getting taken advantage of and ends up giving him millions and millions of dollars over the course of like 3 decades. So I got the chance to see the whole season. The first 3 episodes drop tomorrow on Apple TV Plus. Very, very good. It's got comedic, dramatic elements. I think Will Ferrell, who, we usually know Will Ferrell for doing immature, raunchy comedies. It was actually nice to see him showcase some serious dramatic chops. One of the best performances I've ever seen him give. Also right now, Succession is going hot and heavy on HBO Max. I think Succession is probably the best show out there currently airing on TV. It's in its 3rd season. I highly recommend going back and checking out the first 2 seasons and catching up if you haven't. I also just finished Impeachment, the American crime story about Bill Clinton's scandal with Monica Lewinsky, just wrapped on FX. That was also very, very good. And then if you're not watching on Hulu, it's called Dope Sick, which stars Michael Keaton, Peter Sarsgaard, and Rosario Dawson. It's a real-life dramatization of how they took down Purdue. The FBI built up the case, taking down Purdue Pharma, obviously of the OxyContin drug epidemic. So that's also very, very, very good if you're looking for something to binge these next few weeks.
We're joined by Nate Adams, a film critic from theonlycritic.com. You can also see his film reviews on Rotten Tomatoes as well. And in terms of other big TV streaming shows that have released recently, probably the most notable of all of them has been Squid Game. Have you seen that, and what are your thoughts on that series? I have not seen it yet, and I keep getting pestered that I should.
Yeah, Squid Game is... I did see Squid Game, and I did very much enjoy it. And I was worried because what happens is kind of like the Tiger King effect, where something just kind of hits at the right time and everybody kind of latches onto it. And then I kind of felt that peer pressure too, Tyler. Everybody was telling me in my ear, you got to watch it. And then you see it in your queue and it's number 1 for like 10 weeks. I just have to give credit here obviously to Netflix because it was a grassroots campaign that kind of propelled the show to the biggest hit probably of the streamer's tenure. And I particularly like that it is introducing audiences to that kind of the cinema, right? Foreign language cinema, which, thanks to Parasite and now this, I think more and more people are kind of getting used to it because, before there was the stigma of, well, I don't necessarily want to watch a movie that has subtitles, or I don't want to read my whole movie. And I think that stigma is slowly going away, and I hope it opens the doors for more people to check out great foreign cinema, because 9 times out of 10 they're usually always better than what we produce here.
Yeah, I'm a foreign language films with subtitles. Once you get past the subtitles,
and subtitles in general are great, because I love watching things with subtitles because I never miss a word of dialogue. I really, really wish that movie theaters and AMC has started doing this. I wish some more local houses would do it. Open caption showings, so that way people are laughing, you're chewing on your popcorn or whatever. You miss those little lines of dialogue, or maybe you're watching something where the characters have heavy accents, and it's just like they go so fast, and it's nice to just kind of slow down and read everything. And I know there's been some controversy with Squid Game and how it was translated, but that's a conversation probably for another day.
Yeah, I think in terms of any films or TV shows that do come with subtitles, it's different at first if you're not used to watching that kind of content.
It's become my new norm. Right. I have to watch with subtitles.
No, I love it. Once you get used to it, you actually I found that once I got used to it, and same with what I've discussed with other people, particularly when I was in school and I was watching a lot of films and a lot of TV for my classes, being a broadcasting major, that once they started to watch films with subtitles, they started to really enjoy that too. So it's something to get past, and once you get past, you really start to enjoy it, or at the very least, it's just like watching anything else. So something like that.
Exactly. 100%.
Very interesting. So you mentioned when we were talking about Squid Game, it kind of had the, as you said, Tiger King effect. Netflix coming out with Tiger King 2. Are you interested in that?
I am interested in the sole purpose that, it's guilty pleasure television. Of course, like everybody else, I watched the first season and I was hooked. And again, it hit at the right time. We were just going into all those COVID lockdowns, and we were all kind of looking for something to latch on. And apparently, America has a lot of hatred for Carol Baskins. So, and we'll see. She's already trying to sue. I don't know if you saw this, but she's trying to sue the producers for this next season. I don't think that's it's still going to come out. I think it's coming out November 17th, which I think is next Wednesday. Yeah. I will definitely be a viewer on that one.
Yeah, it's something interesting. I also, much like Squid Game, didn't see Tiger King, didn't really care for it. Didn't.
You gotta catch up. What are you watching?
Oh, I gotta catch up, but I gotta catch up on some things. That's just one thing. Tiger King, I just did not seem remotely interested in. But yeah, I did hear about Carol Baskins suing the producer. Apparently, a lot of angry cats and kittens out there directed at Carol Baskins. So,
yes.
It's sad for her. But one thing I am watching, I have started watching, is much like a lot of other shows that have come in past, there's a lot of revivals that have started recently, and I started watching last weekend as it got released. Dexter New Blood just released on Showtime last weekend. Are you watching that? Are you encouraged to watch that, or what have you heard so far about that revival of Dexter?
Well, I don't watch Dexter, so I don't have as much insight into it, but I do know that there were some fans that were very, let's just say, upset with how the series have previously ended. So I think that, if my understanding is, this is kind of Showtime trying to course correct what happened and maybe make people more satisfied with how that. I don't know how it ended. I might watch it someday. So, but are you getting that sense from the show too? Because I know Michael C. Hall is obviously. He's very good in the show, and he gets a lot of buzz for it. But no, I'm on the Dexter train. Yeah,
Michael C. Hall back in an executive producer role. Clyde Phillips, their original executive producer and showrunner through their first 4 seasons, is back running this.
I'm worried that
series.
that when they do that, when they do these revivals, where you see like they redid the Wonder Years, which is currently airing on ABC, like all those things. I get worried that it's just we're running out of ideas, and we don't. Reboots, sequels, all this. This is part of the reason Disney is releasing this terrible Home Alone sequel that comes out tomorrow on Disney Plus. It's because they got to keep subscribers watching. So are you getting the feeling from Dexter that it's kind of Is it feel like it's authentic, or do you think they're just kind of using it to make some extra streaming dollars?
It feels to me like it's a new show with the same characters in a different setting. You're kind of seeing, because it's, of course, they are beginning that revival in real time. So it's years down the line. He's in a different setting for a number of different reasons that are spoilers, so I won't get into them. But I do like what they're doing with it so far. I do like that they did bring back their original showrunner from the first 4 seasons, which have been regarded as the best parts of that show's 8-season run.
And HBO is also toying with the idea of bringing back another Sopranos show.
Yeah.
You know, a prequel. They did The Many Saints of Newark. I didn't watch The Sopranos. I'm currently making my way through it, and I am enjoying it. So just kind of this mind of old. I hope that this isn't. I hope it already is. It's kind of given the standard of reboots franchise. Like, you know, Paramount Plus, when it came out, it's kind of launching with a ton of pre-existing properties. You know, Clifford the Big Red Dog. Even though I kind of enjoyed it, it still was kind of. It's just these are unnecessary things, and so you got to kind of look deep down for things that, you know, might challenge you more and might be more entertaining.
Yeah, there's got to be, for me, a revival has to come with purpose. It can't just be nostalgia or trying to re-ring the same bell again for a different audience.
And I know the Saved by the Bell reboot on Peacock last year did get some warm praise. That was another one of those that people seem to enjoy. So maybe in the right setting with the right creative team, they can pull it off. But 8 times out of 10, it feels like it never quite reaches its apex.
We're joined by Nate Adams, film critic at theonlycritic.com and Rotten Tomatoes as well, where you can see his film reviews. And so, Nate, as we are going forward, and as you mentioned before, that October was a great month for theaters. We're starting to see those seeing their performance get back to a little bit of more normalcy as time has gone on. Where are theaters at and film studios at in terms of returning to that full sense of normalcy or getting back on track as much as it's possible after the year plus that they lost because of the pandemic?
Well, you know, Disney was kind of experimenting with their releases over the summer. They released Black Widow, Cruella, Jungle Cruise, all premiere access at home for $30. Same with HBO Max and Warner Brothers, the whole that day and date release strategy. So as of right now, yesterday, Disney had its earnings call, and the CEO, Bob Chapek, said it's flexibility is the key. So he's not fully committing to a theatrical window, even though after Shang-Chi did really, really good back in September, they committed the rest of the slate for theatrical only. Next year, I still think there's going to be some building blocks as they determine what's best for theaters and what's best for streaming. And I think really, you know, studios used to put out like 10 or, you know, Warner Brothers, for example, 24 movies in a year, right? Now the goal is they're going to do 12 in theaters and then 12 for HBO Max. Like, that's going to be the new standard. So theaters are going to become less and less the spot for those smaller independent films that normally would gain some traction, like in limited release and then expand, things like that. So it's a waiting game. So you got November is not going to be as high as October because October just was a robust month with week after week of just insane numbers. November will do good and it has a chance, but really you're going to see the biggest telltale sign. And I know we've kept pushing the goalposts, like, well, if this movie does well and if this movie does well, then we'll know for sure that exhibition is back 100%. And Shang-Chi did really good. Eternals just opened to 71 million last weekend. But really, the button on all of this is if Spider-Man No Way Home next month, December 17th, needs to open to $100 million. It would be the first movie to do it since the onslaught of the pandemic. If that doesn't happen, I'm not going to say the death of theaters, but it's just like it's going to make you reevaluate certain perspectives on what's going to be theatrically viable going forward.
Well, Nate, we appreciate your time. Thanks for giving us some insight into what we should be looking out for.
Good to chat.
Yeah, good to chat with you too.
We got Matrix Resurrections coming up next month. I already mentioned West Side Story. And me, I'm going to geek here a little bit. I am so excited. We talked about reboots, sequels, and franchises, but I am so stoked for the Scream movie that's coming out in January, which is bringing back the legacy cast. And that's kind of that thing where it's like, you know, hey, if it doesn't feel cheap or exploitive, maybe it's good. It's going to be the first one without Wes Craven. I am very hopefully optimistic that it lives up to the premise of the filmmakers. I have a lot of confidence in. So that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, same thing with Calvin Brownhofer here, our board operator, our studio producer. Also very excited for Scream coming up as well. So thank you for joining us, Nate.
Thanks again. Always a pleasure.
Yep.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, you as well. You can read all of Nate's reviews on his website at theonlycritic.com. You can also find his reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll go from the theater and the TV screen to the stage, and we'll be joined by Eric Goldstein. He is the director of Making God Laugh from the Rosedale Community Players in Southfield. He'll join us next to talk about that show. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary. And if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here
for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around. And I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you did. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside our studio producer and board operator Calvin Brown in our studios in West Bloomfield Township. Although we're broadcasting all throughout the state of Michigan on a number of different outlets, community television, community radio, and online as well. Learn more about all the places you can find us live and live to tape, as well as on demand by going to our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link. Joining us now once again is Eric Goldstein. He is the director of Making God Laugh from the Rosedale Community Players in Southfield to talk about that show coming up very soon, with shows beginning already underway and continuing this week. Eric, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So tell us a little bit about the play itself. Tell us about Making God Laugh and why people should go see it.
Well, the title comes from an old joke. How do you make God laugh? Tell him your plans. And that's what's driving the playwright here. The play itself, it's about one family, and we get a snapshot of their lives every 10 years. The first scene is in 1980, the second scene is in 1990, the third scene is in 2000, and the final scene is in 2010. And we see how this family develops with with life changes and traditions over that spread of time. It starts with the two adults, with the two parents and the three newly adult children in 1980, and they're just embarking on their adult lives. And it's just really fun and neat and interesting to see and touching to see how they struggle and move forward in each of these 10-year snapshots.
And so as you're producing this play, as a director and as you're preparing for this, from my notes, the process of this play actually began a long time ago, putting the show on, a very long time ago. And it's taken a long time to get to the point where now you've done 3 shows, beginning last week and continuing on through the next 2 weeks. Tell us a little bit about that story. Just how much have you and the Rosedale Community Players out of Southfield gone through in order to get to the point where you're now able to produce Making God Laugh?
My goodness, I applied to direct this show for Rosedale Community Players over 2 years ago. And we had our auditions and we cast the show, and we were about a month away from opening when the pandemic hit and shut everything down. And part of the trick of keeping going was not knowing when we could ever go back to the stage again. And you know, is it going to be a few months? Is it going to be a year? We had no way of knowing. But as we learned more about how to live with the pandemic, how to be safe with the pandemic, we came to the conclusion that perhaps we could do it right now. And our team retook the rehearsal stage, if you will, back in September. And we've had to replace some cast and crew members as their life circumstances took them on different paths. And we have faced more show shutdown problems in this particular project than I've ever seen in memory. But we're here, and the show is great. The audiences loved it last weekend, and we sure hope to give more people the opportunity to enjoy it these next 2 weekends.
We're joined by Eric Goldstein. He's the director of Making God Laugh from the Rosedale Community Players out of Southfield, joining us on the Megacast. Their upcoming shows this week, on November 12th at 8 p.m., Saturday, November 13th at 8 p.m., and then Sunday, November 14th at 2 p.m. Those same show times on those same days next week as well. Friday and Saturday and Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday shows at 2 p.m. As well. And so you mentioned the long process to get here to be able to show Making God Laugh at the Rosedale Community Players in Southfield. Along the way, how much changeover was there from the cast and from the crew, being that the process of getting this play together began in 2019, and now here we are on the tail end of 2021 and finally showing the show?
Let me just quickly correct you. In the final weekend, the matinee is on Saturday. We'll have 2 shows.
Okay, yeah, Saturday.
Saturday, November 20th. That's okay. We'll have a matinee at 2 o'clock and an 8 o'clock show on Saturday, November 20th. But thank you. We have 5 actors portraying the characters in this show. And right now we have 3 of the original cast, and we had 2 other people come in and join us these last few months, one more recent than the other, as we needed to. We've also needed to get new crew. For example, the person who is developing and going to run sound for us, she had made a lot of progress, but she had to move to Lansing for family's reasons and is unable to do it. I'd say a lot of our cast and crew is original and has hung in there, and just those few replacements. And I think it's a testament to how much they love the story and how much they love working with each other. We've got a great team on this show and a very good story. Like I say, it's got a roller coaster of emotions. You're going to laugh, you're going to cry, and at the end, you're going to be glad you came.
We're joined by Eric Goldstein, director of Making God Laugh from the Rosedale Community Players in Southfield. There are shows this weekend as well as next weekend as they close out their 3 weeks of shows at the Southfield Community Players. And so you can get tickets at their online box office or by calling 313-532-4010. That's 313-532-4010 and learn more at rosedalecommunityplayers.com. That's rosedaleCommunityPlayers.com. And so, Eric, you begin the process of putting the show together, gathering a cast, gathering a crew, going through auditions, getting rehearsals, at least planning to take the rehearsal stage. You get cut off by the pandemic. The pandemic isn't over, but you're allowed to then reopen and get back into the theater. What then prompted you and prompted the rest of the cast and the crew and the community players there to then continue on with this show instead of resetting and moving on to something different? What about this story made sense to continue on and ultimately show this show after losing a process that ultimately was 2 years now past when you began?
You know, there's an old saying in theater, the show must go on.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, when you're confronted with a speed bump or more serious adversity, the important thing to do is work hard to find a way to keep going, to adapt, to improvise, to overcome. And we are all committed to moving forward. We had invested so much time and energy into doing the show, and it was also a show we all really loved. We loved the story. We loved the challenges, the unique challenges of aging everyone 10 years in between each scene. There were so many things that attracted us to this show. Why abandon it? Once we are ready to bring live theater back, with all appropriate safe precautions to keep the audience and the actors and the crew safe, which we're following strictly. Why would we not why would we not go forward with this show? It's worth doing. It's a great mirror or reflection on our culture, our family life, and our effort to balance tradition and changing times. That's one of the themes running through the show. And quite frankly, given what the pandemic has done to our society, and as we're trying to move forward to getting past the harsher restrictions, it's the same thing, balancing tradition and the times and the present times. I think it's a great show for that message and for showing a family's perseverance to move forward over 30 years.
I'm joined by Eric Goldstein. He's the director of Making God Laugh from the Rosedale Community Players in Southfield. And so in terms of the audience, what should be attracting them to come see this show? And then when they do see this show, what do you expect is going to be the more profound takeaways that they have from seeing a show like this, especially in the times that we're seeing this show be played at the Rosedale Community Players?
Well, the audience should expect to see much of what I've described. Ours is one of the small stages. We are many small stages in Michigan. We don't have a lot of room for different floats and different sets and things to move around. This is one room, the living room of the house, but we age it a little bit for each scene to reflect the 10 years. What the audience is going to see is the arc. We're going to get introduced to the characters, and we're going to see major changes and major arcs each scene. Maybe the audience go, I wonder what's going to be different this time. But what's running through it all is love of family and the individual's quest to find their own meaning and enmeshing those two things. I don't know if I've answered your question fully, but that's all I can think of right now.
We're joined by Eric Goldstein. He's the director of Making God Laugh from the Rosedale Community Players in Southfield. He's joining us today on the Megacast. You can learn more information about the show and how you can get tickets by going to their website, at rosedalecommunityplayers.com. That's rosedalecommunityplayers.com. You can get their tickets there at their online box office. You can also get them over the phone by calling 313-532-4010. Again, the phone number for their box office to get tickets to Making God Laugh, 313-532-4010. And then in terms of the cast and crew, what have your takeaways been going through this 2+ year process, the start and the stop, knowing the stories and experiencing over and over again through rehearsal after rehearsal, through show after show, this story being told? What has been yours and the rest of the cast and crew's takeaway from producing Making God Laugh?
It's a testament to perseverance and the fruits and the joys of loyalty. That's what ultimately holds the family together. There's crises in the family, and there are things that threaten to tear them apart, but they're held together ultimately to the extent that they are through love and respect and loyalty. Sometimes it might take a while to get there, but they get there. And I think that's a parallel for how the cast and crew have come together to overcome the adversity of time and COVID.
We're joined by Eric Goldstein, director of Making God Laugh from the Rosedale Community Players of Southfield. A little more information on their website, rosedale-community-players.com, and by calling their box office to purchase tickets, 313-532-4010. That's 313-532-4010. Eric, just another few minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that people should know about Making God Laugh, about the Rosedale Community Players, or how they can get involved in future shows?
We are so excited to come back to the live theater, and we have recognized and seen our audiences share in that excitement. I want to announce that we have auditions for our second show of the season. It's a play called Of Divine Interest by Michigan's own playwright, Dave Durham. The auditions will take place at the Rosedale Community Players Theater in Southfield on November 15th, November 16th, and possibly November 17th. More details about that are on our webpage at rosedale-communityplayers.com.
And then lastly, in terms of the audience and the cast and crew and those interested in participating in future shows with the Rosedale Community Players, Eric, at this time, what are the COVID precautions that are in place, if any, at the Rosedale Community Players?
Our mission is to keep everyone safe, regardless of their beliefs in science or otherwise. We want everyone to be safe. You are required to show a current vaccination card or a negative institutional COVID test taken within the last 72 hours to come see the show. All cast and crew have to be vaccinated, and everyone wears a mask throughout. Historically, Rosedale Community Players was set up as like a dinner theater where you bring your own dinner. People were encouraged to bring in food and drink. We're not doing that now. Please don't bring anything to eat or drink there. Maybe we can return to that tradition in future shows, but in this show, there'll be no food or drink allowed in the house. And everyone except actors who are acting on the stage must be wearing a mask. And we're keeping the actors far enough away from the audience that there won't be any spread from them. We really don't want to become a super spreader event. And so we're doing everything we can to keep everyone safe. I will point out that last weekend we had one house was definitely a full house. Another one was almost full, and the other one was 3/4 full. And we had no complaints or concerns, and everyone seemed quite comfortable, and it went really, really well.
Well, Eric, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us and telling us about Making God Laugh. Good luck with the rest of the show. And, of course, everyone can get tickets online at rosedale-communityplayers.com or by calling their box office number 313-532-4010. Eric, thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we will cap off the show talking science with Dr. Christian Greer, the president and CEO of the Michigan Science Center. That is coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is. Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in our studios here in West Bloomfield Township. Although we're broadcasting all throughout the state of Michigan and a number of different places, including online on My Michigan TV, as well as on CivicCenterTV.com. While you're on CivicCenterTV.com to watch the show, head on over to our Megacast page to learn more about our programs. Visit our partnering stations and their websites to learn more about everything else that they do in the other 22 hours of the day, 5 days a week, and over the weekends, and then also find all of our full shows and interviews on demand. Joining us now is Dr. Christian Greer. He is the president and the CEO of the Michigan Science Center, back with us once again as they open their doors for their free Wild Weekend. Dr. Greer, thanks for being back with us today.
Tyler, it's great to be on the Megacast. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, appreciate it. So November 13th, November 14th, this weekend, the Science Center is opening its doors for the free Wild Weekend. Tell us about that, because it sounds like a real good time.
It is a real good time, or at least it will be. We're hosting an annual animal and conservation themed movie marathon and pet adoption, and we're going to have a lot of STEM and STEAM activities. And we're partnering with Michigan Humane and the Detroit Zoological Society. So, you know, it's crazy to think about, but we have so many things that are close to us, around us, in our environments where you can learn about STEM. And we're featuring those furry friends that are right in your home, our pets. And they're going to be on display along with a lot of other cool activities this weekend.
We're joined by Christian Greer, President and CEO of the Michigan Science Center. Learn more about the Science Center, including programs like Free Wild Weekend, by going to mi-sci.org. That is mi-sci.org. So there's going to be, you mentioned some of the many different activities and partners that you have. for this event. What are you hoping that people take away as they come out to the Free Wild Weekend, both on November 13th and the 14th, from this event? And what might be some areas of interest that people might come to this event specifically to see?
Tyler, that's a great question. We're so appreciative of the support of Strategic Staffing Solutions to bring this free community day to the public. And it's kind of a way for people to take a sneak peek. We only have a $99 membership, and we think that you can't see all of the experience in one day. So having the support of Strategic Staffing Solutions to be able to create these opportunities are really important. So some of the takeaways are really simple. We're on this big blue marble we call Earth. It's an oasis of life. I don't know if we're alone in the universe or not, but we're certainly not alone on this planet. We share it with many wonderful animals, and many of those animals are going to be here for pet adoption. So that's probably the biggest draw. Dogs and cats, they're all very cute, they're all very fun, and we want people to learn more about them. Their training, their nutrition, veterinary science is going to be important. We even feature a film in our 4D theater, and it's called Backyard Wilderness. Backyard Wilderness is a fun film that just tells you about all the wildlife in your backyard. So some of you that live in urban areas or in rural areas, you see a lot of wildlife that's around, and we want to try to focus on that to give people a chance to learn more about it.
We're joined by Dr. Christian Greer. He is the president and the CEO of the Michigan Science Center. Their November 13th and 14th Free Wild Weekend coming up this weekend, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on both of those days. So November 13th and 14th, 10 a.m. It starts, finishes up at 4 p.m. You need to make reservations, however, in advance to attend the free community weekend. You can do that at their website, mi-sci.org. That is mi-sci.org. And so you're partnering with a number of different organizations. The Michigan Science Center is partnering with Michigan Humane, with the Detroit Zoological Society, and others to put this event on. How important was it for the Science Center in planning an event like this to engage with community partners throughout the local area on a number of different topics, not just focusing on the wildlife in our local area, but also on pet adoption and also focusing on other scientific topics as well, and providing that wide scope of information in these different areas for the public to enjoy and to learn about?
I think I'd like to build off of the term that you used, the wide scope. That's really important. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization with a mission. And, our tagline is, we put you at the center of science. And part of the way of doing that is to immerse people in science, immerse people in nature, immerse people in places and experiences and events where they can use their critical thinking skills, or think about things in terms of creative problem solving, like scientists do, technologists, engineers, mathematicians. But we can't do it alone. And it's really hard. When you work for an organization like us, you want to take on the world, you want to change things, you want to get people connected, but you have to kind of look at yourself in the mirror, be realistic, and recognize that you need partners to take on some of these big projects. Well, there's no better partner than the Detroit Zoological Society. They're a very popular organization, well respected, and to be able to work with them as a community partner for an organization like this is important for animal husbandry, to understanding veterinary science. They bring all that to the table. And Michigan Humane, I have to say, I have a personal place in my heart for Michigan Humane, because just last year, our family cat passed away, and I wasn't sure if we could find another cat that would warm our hearts as much. And Michigan Humane partnered us up with a beautiful cat. Her name is Sophia, and I owe them for making the kids happy to be able to do that. So it's a wonderful thing that, if you think about science, a lot of people don't have that on-ramp, or they don't have a practical way that it can make sense to them. But when you have furry, cute animals in front of you, you start asking all kinds of questions. It makes it a lot easier to understand STEM.
And so then, Dr. Greer, of course, you mentioned earlier on that Michigan Humane will be having some pets there that will be up for adoption. Tell us what they will have there. I would assume, the typical house pets, cats and dogs, may be there. And then what times and what days? Will that be both days?
Yes, both days. And it's important for people to recognize that, many of these animals have been rescued or they're in very troubling situations. They end up at Michigan Humane in a loving place. And their tagline is to help, for you to help them find a forever home for these pets. And, the last time we had this event last year, it was so popular. And you're going there and you see these animals and they're looking right at you and saying hello. And the kids that came with their parents really had a good time getting to know them. But, they go really, really fast. I think we had every single animal that was on site last year adopted, which is crazy to think about, but they found their forever home. So it's very important for people to come early so that you can see a cat that maybe fits for your family, or a dog or a puppy that might be just the right size for your house. And we're hoping to use this as a way to talk about biomechanics, homeostasis, how animals have these superpower senses like hearing and smell that we don't have. So it's fun, it's exciting, and we're hoping that people can come, have a good time, learn a little STEM, and work with Michigan Humane and the Detroit Zoological Society, sponsored by Strategic Staffing Solutions.
We're joined by Dr. Christian Greer. He is the president and the CEO of the Michigan Science Center, joining us today on the Megacast. The event we're talking about coming up this weekend. It is the November 13th and 14th. Their free wild weekend featuring pet adoption and animal movie marathon with the Michigan Humane Society, as well as Detroit Zoological Society. Also, it's a free event, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday and on Sunday. It's also 10 to 2 p.m. for the pet adoption on both of those days. You have to register to attend. And to do that, go to their website where you can also learn more about the Michigan Science Center. That is mi-sci.org, mi-sci.org. And so, Dr. Greer, this event coming up this weekend, but there's plenty of other programming regularly happening at the Michigan Science Center and ongoing programming. What are some of the other ongoing programs that, outside of this November 13th and 14th 10 to 4 event, that people will be able to experience right now over at the Science Center?
Absolutely. Well, as I mentioned earlier, Tyler, the 4D theater that we have is really a lot of fun, and we're hoping to get some new films for the year that's coming up in 2022. But right now, we're playing Backyard Wilderness. It's a fun film that teaches you all about the wildlife in your backyard. We also have a planetarium in which we're working to display a program called One World, One Sky, and it is a Sesame Street production with Big Bird, and gives you a tour of the nighttime sky to learn constellations. It's for younger children, early childhood STEM, which is really important. So we feature that. And then normally we have our BASF Kids Lab. We have our science stage where we do explosive demos with a fire tornado, or we use liquid nitrogen to super chill something. So there's like lots of cool things to do. We have a gift shop that people enjoy with lots of cool science toys. You can play with fun toys, but you can also learn a little STEM with a gyroscope. So it's a fun place to be. We like to let people have fun, and it's an environment where you can learn, make mistakes, try some things out, and including with some of the extreme weather events that we've had recently. We have an extreme weather event called Earth, Wind, Weather, and Earth, Wind, Weather is a fun experience where you can actually put your hand in a vortex of a tornado that's about 13 feet tall, and it's just a lot of fun.
We're joined by Dr. Christian Greer, president and CEO of the Michigan Science Center. And so you mentioned part of this weekend's event will be in the 4D theater. You mentioned other ongoing programming in the 4D theater. People have heard of 3D movies. They've been out for a while for now, but maybe they haven't heard of a 4-dimensional theater experience. Tell us what that is and just exactly what it means to be a 4D theater.
Yeah, well, for the relativistic electrodynamicists in the room that probably think this has something to do with relativity, it doesn't. It's more just taking 3D, which takes a 2-dimensional image off the screen, and we're familiar with that. The red and blue goggles or the polarized lenses are always fun. But the 4th dimension is kind of more entertaining because we have other things like water sprays or bubbles that come out, or air cannons that shoot air across the room. So you're watching a film and you're watching a bird fly through the air and you can feel the air. Or you're getting close to a waterfall and there's a water spray. Or there might be some crawling critters on the floor of the Amazon rainforest and you might just feel something by your feet. So it's kind of a way to bring the traditional 2D image alive and to be able to experience it like you're really there. So that's kind of fun. People like it, and it's a fun thing to do at the Michigan Science Center.
We're joined by Dr. Christian Greer, President and CEO of the Michigan Science Center. You can learn more about their 4D theater and other ongoing programs and exhibits by going to their website at mis-sci.org. That's mi-sci.org, where you can also register, and you have to register if you want to attend this free event this weekend, their free Wild Weekend, November 13th and 14th at the Michigan Science Center, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., including the Michigan Humane's a pet adoption event, which will be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on both of those days as well. And then Dr. Greer, going forward, what are some other upcoming programs that people can expect to be seeing at the Michigan Science Center in the coming weeks and months?
Yeah, well, we're hoping to do some fun activities around the holidays to give people a chance to get together with their family and friends. And many of these things will feature different programs that we do with other partners that we work with, science partners, other organizations. The big thing that we have on site right now on our fourth floor space, which a lot of people don't know we have a 9,000 square foot fourth floor special exhibit hall for science. And we are featuring an exhibit called Math Alive. Now, you might not think ordinarily that a math exhibit would be a whole lot of fun, but I'm here to tell you that this exhibit is probably the most fun and math exhibit you've seen in your life, Tyler. It's a wonderful experience that actually flips the script, and I'll tell you how it does it. It basically takes cool things and teaches you about the math, as opposed to teaching you about the math, whether it's geometry, algebra, even arithmetic or calculus, and then applying it to daily life. It takes daily life and then shows you the math, which when you think about it, a lot of math was created by people contemplating how things work in the real world. So snowboarding, controlling a robot, cybersecurity, building a tall building, music, even photography is featured in this exhibit, and weather, which is a lot of fun as well. So you come into the exhibit, you play a lot of games, you do a lot of challenges, and you learn about the math, whether it's angles and degree measure, or it could be variables and looking at things in areas under the curve, like in calculus. So all of this stuff is a lot of fun. And most people come out saying, gosh, I never knew math could be that fun. So we want people to come down and check out Math Alive. It's a fun exhibit on our fourth floor, 9,000 square feet of engaging mathematical activities.
We're joined by Dr. Christian Greer. He's the president and CEO of the Michigan Science Center. You can learn more about all of those upcoming activities and their events, including this weekend's free Wild Weekend, where you can also register to attend the free event by going to their website at mi-sci.org. That's mi-sci.org. And Dr. Greer, just another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye. Anything else at this time that would be interesting or important for our audience to know about the Michigan Science Center, or anything else we haven't discussed today?
Well, I will say one of the things I'm most proud of at the Michigan Science Center is to be able to get as much news coverage and social media and great shows, Tyler, like yours at the Megacast. You know, we're just one organization. We want to try to reach out to as many people all over the state, actually, not just in this region or in Midtown Detroit, because we think it's so important for people to get science and technology, engineering and math, habits of mind. And those habits of mind are really important for a 21st century economy. And we have probably the largest per capita group of mechanical engineers in the nation. Is right here in this region, right? And we know they're interested in this, and they share this with their families. So we want people to feel like you don't have to be a mechanical engineer to be able to learn STEM. And we want to get that word out. And being on shows like the Megacast help us get the word out. We put you at the center of science, and we want you to feel as though science is for you. This is an identity you can have. It's things that you can learn, whether it's looking up in the sky through a telescope or looking at the smallest things that you can find through a microscope. This is important, and we can't do it without partners like you, and without shows like this that get the word out and let people know cool stuff going on right here in your area.
Well, we're happy to do it, and we thank you for joining us again and tell us about this great event coming up this weekend and other things that are going on right now and in the future at the Michigan Science Center. Thank you, Dr. Greer.
Thank you, Tyler. Take care.
You as well. Again, that event, the Free Wild Weekend, November 13th and 14th, this weekend, 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. You got to register to attend, but it is a free event. Register and learn more about this and other programs at the Michigan Science Center by going to their website at mi-sci.org. That is mi-sci.org. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Megacast. Just another couple minutes left in our show on this Thursday. I want to give a big thank you to everyone who joined us on today's edition of the Megacast. Of course, Dr. Christian Greer, the president and the CEO of the Michigan Science Center, for joining us at the bottom of this hour. Eric Goldstein, the director of Making God Laugh with the Rosedale Community Players of Southfield, for joining us. Nate Adams, film critic with Rotten Tomatoes and theonlycritic.com. Jeanette Phillips, the executive director of Share Detroit, and of course Mick McCabe from the Detroit Free Press, a high school sports writer and contributor, with them talking about the MHSAA playoffs in football, which we will of course have continuing coverage of the local West Bloomfield Lakers on Friday night. That kickoff 7:09 because of the TV coverage on Bally Sports as well, and we'll have that here on Lakes FM with pregame at about 6:30. Big thank you to our crew as well. Calvin Brown, our studio producer and our board operator, with us today. I believe it was Jared back at our Troy office was our Zoom producer today. So Jared Clark, our Zoom producer over in our Troy office at My Michigan TV, for being our Zoom producer. And Larry Nyland, our booking producer, each and every day getting our guests booked for the show, filling out each one of these shows, giving us the information we need, giving them the information they need, and getting us all connected. Big thank you to him, working around the clock, and I mean around the clock, to book this show. You can find more information as well as all of our full shows and interviews on demand on our website at civiccentertv.com by clicking on our Megacast link, and find more helpful information, factual information from experts at the CDC, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division by going to our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. A little programming note: it is Veterans Day. Big thank you to all of our veterans who have served, past and present. Our Heroes Appreciation Celebration event will be premiering on Civic Center TV this afternoon after our weekend meeting replay block, and it will come up at 1 o'clock on WBTV. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.